My parents were founders of an organic farming organization in the 1980s, helped write some of the first organic standards in the US. I've been brought up in the organic orthodoxy, being taught that we were better people because we were organic. When I started to look around at the trees and the plants around me that nature was growing, and none of them were being attacked by insects and disease, and the crops that I was producing were, I got to thinking about maybe there was more to it than just not using chemicals. Maybe there was a deeper set of dynamics here. I started reading books, going to conferences, attending seminars, learning from the broader set of perspectives outside of organic, agroecology and permaculture and biodynamics, biochemistry, microbiology, quantum. There's a whole suite of ways of looking at life and looking at how nature has been doing things for hundreds of millions of years, growing plants on land, beyond the sort of structure of organic that we were raised with. What happened when I began to shift practices and integrate that broader perspective was that my cost of production went down. My pest and disease pressure dissipated. My economic viability increased. Shelf life increased. Flavor, aroma, nutritional value increased. And it was in that process, near almost now 20 years ago, when I said, what's the term for this thing that is this variation in nutrient levels in food? Because isn't that the point? Isn't the point of farming to produce food that is nutritious? We don't actually have a term for this thing that correlates with what we know as animals deep down inside, which is this tomato tastes good and that tomato doesn't. This peach tastes good, that peach doesn't. This beef tastes good, that beef doesn't. That variation in nutrient levels in food, which actually connects viscerally with soil health and ecosystem function and human health, we didn't actually have a term for. So I'm proud to have helped to coin this term and help to lead this conversation now, which many people are beginning to have heard this term nutrient density, and we actually have a concept and a conversation around the result. Not the certification, not the process, not the label, not the bureaucracy, but the actual functional result. Indigenous cultures globally have shown us how with no wheel and no plow to optimize ecosystem function and be able to prioritize a vast majority of their day with life, with family, with community, with culture, with music. We have models of how to work with nature systemically at continent scale without all this input. As farmers, we're not taught about that. We're taught about how to apply products from people who are selling us stuff foundationally. But what happened when we taught these courses is the word of mouth spread from here to there to there to there. When farmers see results, they tell their friends. They tell their that's how truth spreads. And so if we have the capacity to work with nature and it costs less, it's more efficient, it's better economic viability, it's better ecosystem function, it's better human health, isn't that something we should scale? Isn't that something we should bring to, isn't this the way agriculture should be done on a global scale? And then the question was, how would you do that? We had a grand vision, which was that if people who buy food for their families could discern what was better and what was worse on the shelf before purchase, they probably would choose the things that are better for themselves and their families and leave the stuff that's less good on the shelf. And the science we settled on is called spectroscopy. And that basically is every element or compound in chemistry, like copper or zinc or protein or carbohydrate, that vibrates at a certain frequency. That vibration is light. So if we take a really good picture of the light coming off of something, we can see what it's made up of. And so our thought was, is it possible to build a handheld ray gun? Is it possible to say, burp, burp, this bag of carrots are 20 out of 100. Burp, burp, this bag of carrots is 80 out of 100. That was our theory of change. If we could accomplish that, we could apply the economic incentive to transform the way agriculture is practiced, because people care about themselves and their families. We had three basic questions. First question, is it possible to build a handheld ray gun at a consumer price point to test quality? Second question, how big is nutrient variation? What is the scale of variation of nutrients in food? And the third question is, if there is a significant scale of variation, what causes it? This is an NGO, a charity, a nonprofit that I run. We are not a company. This work is funded by charitable donations It is not proprietary. It is for the planet. And I'll just, our limiting factor is cash. Right? Accomplishing this systemic global good is inhibited only by the capacity to do the science to get it done. This slide you see here is the data from 2020. We set up our third lab in Europe in 2020. Every one of those green icons is a farm. So, you pull a carrot here, a carrot here, a carrot there. The orange icons are citizen scientists who are going to the point of purchase, the grocery store, the farmer's market, and pulling stuff off the shelf. About 10,000 samples of crop over 2 continents, over 4 years, over 25 different types of crops. But effectively, at the edge of the red over to the edge of the green is a 4x variation. The amount of sulfur in those carrots varies 4 times. The next one is phosphorus. I believe that's an 8x variation there, from the edge of the red to the edge of the green. As in, you'd have to eat 8 of these carrots over here to get as much phosphorus as if you ate that 1 carrot over there. Right? That's not small. That's not 8%. That's 800%. Next, we have antioxidants. Is a 40x variation. You'd have to eat 40 of the ones on the left to get as many antioxidants as if you ate 1 of the ones on the right. This is a survey across multiple continents, across multiple years. It's a reasonably significant sample set. Polyphenols, antioxidants, those are the compounds that we as animals have evolved a sophisticated nutrient monitoring system to discern. Your tongue, your nose, right? We're wired actually with a sophisticated capacity to discern what's good for us and what's not. And when we are frustrated with our children for not eating their fruits and vegetables, I say they're animals and they know better. What you're providing them is of insufficient caliber, and they're spitting it out because it's not good for them. This is the nature of the supply chain we have right now. And almost everything that's available is quite bad. The first thing I think for us as farmers to understand is we're not doing that good of a job. Once you're at the point of humility, then you can say, oh my God, look at the opportunity. Almost nobody's doing a good job. So if I up the game a little bit, I'm going to be better than everybody else. So next slides here are on genetics. Some people say genetics is all that matters. What we see is no actual connection between genetics does not predict nutrient levels. To the right, we have different soil types. This is the bioregions of the U.S. No meaningful connection between bioregion and nutrient levels in food. In this bioregion, some farmers are doing a good job. Almost everybody's doing a bad job. The next one is point of purchase. We have store, farm, garden, and farmer's market. I don't see any meaningful variation in where you buy your food and the nutrient levels in that food. The next 2 are actually grocery store, not organic, and if you look at where they're fatter, it's fatter over to the good side. So this is quite embarrassing, or should be quite embarrassing for anybody who's putting their confidence on their certification label. The next one after that is actually regenerative. The regenerative is fatter on the wrong side than conventional. It actually looks like some farmers operating on scale that are not organic are doing a good job, right? Just because you are part of this hip new group, I would say it's your relationship with nature that matters, not what you call yourself. The only thing that correlates with levels of nutrients in food is levels of life in the soil. The function of the microbiome is actually the thing that correlates with nutritional caliber in food. Not whether you're local, not whether you're organic, not whether you no-till. It's actually the system function of life that correlates with the nutritional caliber of the food. We were able in 2021 to release this handheld ray gun. It's consumer priced. And again, we're a small educational organization. We got this published in Nature, that this thing works. We made a few hundred of them, shipped them around the world. It is true, it is possible to have a consumer priced, handheld, flash of light nutrient meter. So our first 3 questions: is nutrient variation dramatic? Yes. What causes it? System function of life. And is it possible to test it in real time, non-invasively, at point of purchase? Yes. All 3 questions are answered in the affirmative. Then therefore our theory of change, we think, is a plausible one for how to change the world. What is nutrient density? How do you actually say this carrot is better than that carrot. We started with beef as the first crop we attempted to define nutrient density in. We got samples from 4 continents in this case. The farmers sent in a steak from 3 different animals. Each of those steaks we assessed initially for about 800 different nutrients, elements, enzymes, vitamins. We had farmers send in the manure from those animals so we could assess the microbiome, what the fodder was, what kind of plants were in that animal's fodder. We asked a whole bunch of management questions. Basic results, omega-6, omega-3 ratio is something people may have heard of. It does sure look like animals that eat green things for their entire life have a much more balanced omega-3, omega-6 ratio than animals that eat a lot of brown things. The short answer seems to be that the more species of plants that cows have access to, the better those ratios are. A really heartening message is it doesn't matter where you are, you can do a good job or you can do a bad job. Most of us are doing a bad job, maybe not people in this room per se, but if you look at the food supply broadly, relatively is quite poor, but it can be done well anywhere. Now that we think we've got a vision for how to do this, now we need to do it for potatoes and wheat and cucumbers and milk. Until we actually have a definition of 1 to 100 from an empirical standpoint for every crop, meters can't be built, people can't go to the store, we can't unlock that visceral self-interest of the consumer to align the economic incentive to support the farmer in choosing the best practices. And so, sign the treaty. As an organization, as a company, as a thought leader, as a nutritionist, as an agronomist, if we can get a couple hundred serious, thoughtful entities globally to coalesce around this process, to bring their imprimatur to this, we think then we'll be able to go to the funders to actually drive the donations necessary to accomplish this, to define nutrient density in 20 crops. 20 of the world's most produced foods. We think we can unlock the set of incentives which will really potentially profoundly transform this planet. Let's use all the tools in the toolbox, and let's see if we can facilitate that symbiotic collaboration globally as one people of the planet. I think that's the opportunity. This is the first time anywhere on the planet I'm announcing this, so I'm very excited to do this here with you all.